Hi, I'm Mike Papantonio, and this is America's Lawyer. Mark Robinson, the crazy, insane Republican candidate for governor in North Carolina, recently had his entire online history exposed to the world, and it is creepy, as you can imagine. Hillary Clinton, well, she's back in the news, and it's as usual, it isn't because she did something important or did something good. This time, Clinton says anyone who uses or considers to be using Russian talking points or Chinese talking points or Iranian talking, they need to be thrown in jail. And Democrats who are tired of Vice President Harris ducking the media, and they're telling her that she could end up losing in November if she doesn't start talking to reporters. We're going to tell you that story. All that and more. It's coming up. Don't go anywhere. America's Lawyer starts right now. CNN came out with an explosive report late last week about Mark Robinson, the Republican candidate for governor in the state of North Carolina. The information in the report is shocking, to put it mildly, and we've got Ring of Fire's Farron Cousins to talk about it. Farron, this is another one you get. It's amazing your ability to get stories before they're stories. I mean, it really is. If I'm not right, correct me on this, but I think you did an early story on this before it was the talk. Just how crazy the guy was. You would hear him talk, and he was crazy. It was apparent he was crazy. But why were you talking about stuff like that before CNN or any of the big networks are talking about it? It's because you do a good job, Farron.
Well, thank you.
You're a great progressive commentator, and that's just the truth of the matter. Let's talk about this nutcase.
Yeah, this is, well, first of all, he denies everything. He says he may sue CNN. He's not sure, maybe, possibly. Now he's also claiming, it's all artificially intelligence generated. But what happened was that CNN they actually did some journalism
which is
for once.
Amazing.
Right.
It was absolutely amazing that CNN did any kind of exploratory journalism. But apparently they did. They must have gotten a lead on something.
Yeah, and they found out that he, for years and years, was posting on this website, is a pornographic website called Nude Africa. And he would go on there and he would say all kinds of horrific things. He defended slavery and said if we brought it back today, he'd own a few. Talking trash about Martin Luther King, using very racist language to talk about him.
We got to say something. I mean, this is so crazy. We can't just say it was crazy and not talk about the specifics. If you're a man on Friday night and all of a sudden Saturday you feel like a woman and you want to go to the women's bathroom in the mall, well, you're going to be arrested if I'm in charge, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, so he goes off on transgenders, even though he has this thing for transgenders. We find out in the pornography world, he loves transgenders.
He's talking about how that's better than watching a man and a woman together.
Yeah, he just loves the idea of transgenders. And of course, he's trying to get away from it because pick up some of the comments. I mean, you can't tell this story without having to say some of this stuff.
I'd take Hitler over any of the shit that's in Washington right now. In a series of 7 posts in October of 2011, he disparaged Martin Luther King in such intense terms, calling him a commie bastard, worse than a maggot, a fucking phony, and a huckster. And at one point, the worst one is when he said that if he were alive back in the day, he would have called him... I'm not in the KKK. They don't let blacks join. If I was in the KKK, I would have called him Martin Lucifer Kuhn.
And he calls himself a black Nazi back then.
Yeah.
And I mean, his statement, I love watching tranny porn. And then now if you listen to him all the time, it's tranny bad, tranny. But the point is this is so typical. We do so little to understand these nutcases. Why do they move into politics to begin with? You know, they come in with holes in their shoes. They come in with no money. They come in with not accomplished a damn thing in their life. Yeah. All of a sudden, some party puts them up there and they're a big political name. I mean, if you go and really take a look at this, and you take a look at the people that were nobody, had not accomplished a damn thing in their work, in their education, in their life in general, that all of a sudden they're on the front line in politics, Democrats and Republicans. Yeah. It ain't just a Republican Party. This guy's Republican. But look, why don't they just say, get out of the race, man. You're so crazy. You are so crazy that we can't even have you out there talking.
And by the time this story came out, which was, late in the evening last Thursday, there technically was still time. They had not yet started sending out the absentee and early voting ballots, and that could have been postponed for the Republicans to put another nominee up there really quick. I mean, it's North Carolina. They're a dime a dozen. Y'all could have found anybody with a pulse to put in his place. And here's the thing, he was already losing the race by like 6 or 7 points before the story.
I know.
He's toast. Y'all just lost the governorship.
All he's doing is hurting the party. Get him out of there. Say we messed up. We let this nutcase come in. His basic thing is apparently, what is the site? It's called Nude Africa. And with Nude Africa, he had a moniker. And it was called the
mini soldier. I think is how you would
mini
pronounce
soldier that he called himself. And the stuff that he said one time in there, he's talking about how he was spying on little 14-year-old girls taking showers, making a big thing about how he was able to sneak and peek and see all these girls taking showers. He's on this site glorifying, talking about what a great experience it was and how he's going to go back again and again. This guy is a head case, man.
Yeah.
And it's our failure to understand. All of a sudden, we see their name. It's advertised, so-and-so running for House of Representatives. We go, oh my God, he must be quiet. Bullshit. If you do any kind of look at some of these folks, and it's been around a long time. I think it's worse in the last 20 years, where these people that start with nothing, have accomplished nothing, have no area where they've distinguished themselves. They just say, hey, I'd like to put my name out there and run. And these parties, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, one thing I want to add about this, though, is that this is going to be the future of politics here. We're living in the digital age right now. The last 20 years, everything anybody does is online.
Right.
This is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of candidates moving forward. So now the opposition, whatever party you are, the party running against you, knows what to do. We're going to comb through your old Facebook posts. We're going to comb through your MySpace pages. We're going to go to your LinkedIn.
Thank goodness.
We're going to find every horrible thing you've ever said or done. And this will be the future of politics. This scandal is going to be the first of many we will see once everybody's online histories are fully exposed.
Would you ever dream that CNN, I mean, even though, they got 800,000 people watching them, the fact that they have gone out and done this is so unlike CNN. I mean, it's just like way out there for CNN to do anything like this.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton has a lot to learn about the First Amendment, apparently. During a recent rant and interview with Rachel Maddow, Clinton said that any American caught using Russian talking points should be thrown in jail. It went beyond that. She said, if you say something that seems to favor Iran, I mean, this is where she's going with it.
Yeah.
If you say something that favors Iran or China or Russia, not only should you be censored, you should be criminally prosecuted. And I know you hate to hear this because you and I don't know how much we disagree on this, but she to me is a political has-been.
Oh, yeah.
That is just here, and we can't get rid of her. She doesn't know that her political career is over. I don't know what she's waiting for. Maybe some big break, some opportunity. But the point to me is that how could she not understand how crazy this talk is? We want to criminally prosecute them. I think of Bill Maher. I think of Jon Stewart, when they talked about, should we really be in Ukraine? Is that a good idea? Well, do we criminally prosecute them because that's a Russian talking point? That's how crazy that statement was.
It really is. And to be honest, I have no idea why 8 years after her, failed presidential bid, why is anybody talking to her or about her? That's what makes no sense to me.
Right.
She is not relevant to what is happening today in American politics. No. She had her chance and she did not succeed. So let's move on as a party. Bringing her back out there, especially this close to an election, when we know people overall do not like her, that was a dumb move. That was a dumb move by MSNBC to even put her in the spotlight. And then she goes out there and says, oh, well, yeah, we had these people who she admits were unwittingly spreading Russian talking points, that big scandal that we talked about recently.
Right.
But then she goes further and says, well, it doesn't matter. We've got to start prosecuting. This is something the DOJ needs to look at. And you can't criminalize the speech. In fact, these people who were spreading the Russian talking points, first of all, they're not even being criminally charged because they did nothing wrong.
Criminally, they did nothing.
Criminally, right.
They did something that she would have objected to. They had some discussion about something Russia was doing that she disagreed with.
Right.
So we throw her in jail. Yeah. We throw them in jail because they disagree with what she thinks is proper speech.
Right. And look, I don't like any of those people. I disagree with everything they say. But the people who did get charged were not charged because of the scandal. They were only charged with acting as an unregistered foreign agent.
Right.
Something that, Hunter Biden himself has been accused of, Rudy Giuliani has been accused of. It's something we do a lot.
Well, okay, I used to do a show with Rachel Maddow. It was she had a morning show. I'm trying to think of who else was on that show, but she's the one who
Liz Winstead, Chuck
Liz
D.
Winstead, yeah, Liz Winstead. It says Rachel Maddow, Liz Winstead. They created something called the PAP attack. And I love Rachel. I mean, I've loved her then. But to me, to have taken the time to even allow this nut job to say that on the air and not come back and say, really, Hillary, can you hear how crazy you sound? It surprises me. That's all I'm trying. It just surprises me because I remember the days she would cut right through all that. She said, it's so insane. You're talking about First Amendment issues here.
Yeah.
And you don't seem to understand them. And you ran for president of the United States and lost. TikTok is currently facing off against the federal government in court as they fight to keep their platform operational after the Biden administration forced them to either sell or shut down. Pick this up. We've told this. We've gone through this story again and again. You know what struck me? Is that we're talking about TikTok and their foreign ownership. Headline, buddy, Politico, foreign owned. Politico. We're going to do the same thing to Politico? Spotify, foreign owned. Are we going to do the same thing to Spotify? This has just gotten so cranked out of control to where these people actually believe they can do this. And any federal judges are going to say, wait a second, you're anticipating that TikTok is going to do something wrong. At this point, they've said there hadn't been anything done wrong.
Right.
But we're anticipating that it might be. We're anticipating that they're going to take all this information that they're scraping off, the same stuff that Facebook scrapes off, the same stuff that Instagram scrapes off, and somehow the Chinese are going to use it. That's their argument.
Well, and the argument from the lawyers for the government is it's okay when American companies take your data because they can sell it. We use it for targeted advertisements and things like that. But they said the problem is that same data is extremely valuable to a foreign adversary trying to compromise the security of the United States.
They can buy it right now.
Exactly.
China can buy every bit that Facebook has scraped away from everybody watching this program or Instagram. You don't think these folks are doing the same thing? They're taking everything they can. All of China's got to get on the phone. Hello, Instagram, I'd like to buy all your data. They'd have exactly the same thing.
Exactly, but I think it's just so insane that the federal government's lawyers have walked into this court, in front of this 3-judge panel, and said, listen, it's okay when we do it. Mm-hmm. There's no problem with that. And to their credit, the lawyers working for TikTok and the plaintiffs, the other plaintiffs, because there's other people that are involved in this lawsuit, but those lawyers pointed out, okay, well, Politico, that's owned by a foreign country. Spotify, as you said, it's owned by a foreign country. Why are you targeting us? Is this about really working for national security, or is this just because you don't like this company or this country? Because you cannot legislate based on your animosity towards one country.
You know who's really trying to put them out of business? Is corporate media.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you know why that is, right? We talk about this all the time. We have come up, you and I have come up for 20 plus years, doing stories that corporate media refuse to do.
Yeah.
Because their corporate advertisers wouldn't let them do it. Whether it's a drug that's killing people, whether it's mom and pop having all their money stolen from banks in New York, whether it's a company like DuPont or 3M destroying entire ecosystems, we would try to go on the air and tell those stories. I can't even count the number of times that we were stopped. Matter of fact, I got a call from Washington Post doing a story about, the threat of Russia's speech, and asking me, well, what was your experience with that? And I said, here's my experience. The only time I've been censored by trying to tell a story about corporate malfeasance is on MSNBC or, any of the cable stations. You can't tell those stories. I remember one story we did on, do you remember the Yellowwood story?
Yep.
Okay, so the Yellowwood story, I'm trying to tell the story about a company that has arsenic all over their wood, and that they want to take that wood and they want to make it into the children's playground equipment. So I go on the story, do the story. They want me to come back and apologize the next day. They almost fired Joe Scarborough over it.
Yeah.
Because he was doing the interview. And I said, hell no, I'm not going to come back and apologize. Are you kidding me? But that's corporate media. So they hate that we can tell these stories through TikTok.
Yeah.
Or YouTube or wherever it may be. They want to accomplish the demise of TikTok, but they're not paying much attention to Facebook or Instagram.
Right, and to be honest, even with TikTok, we have run into situations where our stories,
Good point.
Johnson & Johnson, the most
that
recent one we
story.
did, we put it on TikTok, and then TikTok comes back and says, hey, this violated community guidelines, very vague. So our guys dig in more with them, and they say, can you give us specifics? What is wrong about this story? And they said, well, it's not true. And there was another one too about another law, the baby formula lawsuit as well.
Baby formula killing kids all over the country.
Yeah.
Preemie children dying from baby formula, and whoever the nut jobs are with TikTok and all of them. I mean,
Facebook did the same thing.
We can't let you tell that story. Really?
They say, oh, it's not true, and you personally, you've got the documents showing how true it is.
Well, not only there's verdicts in court on Johnson & Johnson. There's jury verdicts against the baby formula companies.
So these same outlets, unfortunately, are moving more towards that corporate
that scares
model.
me. Well,
but right now they are far more free. We do have more leeway to say what we need to say on these platforms than we would on corporate media, but who knows how long that'll last.
Well, corporate is ahead of it now. Corporate media, the way they got the Johnson & Johnson story pulled, where the talc is killing women with cancer. I mean, horrible deaths. And they got their people to call in and say, this isn't true, this isn't true. Well, nobody took a minute to say, hell yes, it's true. It's all over the media. Trials have proven it. And yes, this is true. Instead, they just pull the story and say, this is out of line.
And you guys got a strike, and if you get two more, we kick you off the platform.
Yeah. Well, I've got something planned for it if they do it again. I've got a little bit of surprise for TikTok. But the point is, you don't shut them down.
Right. They do not
deserve
that.
Democrats are begging Kamala Harris to get out there and do more interviews before she runs out of time. The public needs to hear directly from her, and her strategy of avoiding the media is no longer working. I mean, it's a dog race, man. We have a dog race. And so the argument, one group of people in the Democratic Party is saying she's just not good in front of a camera. That when she's in front of a camera, word salad spews out. She doesn't sound intelligent. I mean, this is her own party. This is the division of her own party. The other part said, and that we ought to keep her out of the limelight. Media should not be able to talk to her. The other group says, no, she's very personable, and they need to see her more. They need to see her in a relaxed situation. Right now, the word salad people are winning because they're keeping her away from cameras.
Yeah, and look, she did that first debate with Donald Trump, and hands down, she walked away with that victory. Mm-hmm. She kind of let Trump hang himself, but also pushed him into falling into all these traps. So that was great. Unfortunately, there's no other debates. She does not have another chance to do that publicly or to showcase herself publicly. So now you do have to do the interviews. You know, there was a long time I was saying, look, she doesn't owe the media anything.
No, I agree with that.
And now, though, without another opportunity, okay, now it is on you. You've got to go out and honestly do what Biden did in 2020. Trump backed out of the second presidential debate in 2020. So Biden said, okay, you're not going to debate me. They went to the network that was going to host the debate and said, all right, I'll do a 2-hour town hall. And they did it, and Trump was super pissed and ended up doing the third debate. But Biden said, if you're not going to go on TV with me, I will do it myself, and I will showcase my talents. I will speak to people, and it worked exceptionally well for him.
Will that work with her?
If she did
a 2-hour town hall?
I do think she could do it. I do not think, especially when you look at just this word vomit that comes out of Donald Trump, the man is insane. Just almost needs to be in the padded room.
And it's getting worse.
Yeah.
It's getting worse. It's almost, we've been following him for so many years. I think you're the Trump specialist. We used to see the edges of it. Now it's just out there every day, and the old man won't shut up, and nobody will shut the old man up. So I guess the Democrats dealing with her are trying to say, we're not sold on you getting out there and taking the training wheels off. That's what's happening. And I don't know, only time will tell.
Well, that's the thing is, they're not going to know until they try.
Is it working for her now, do you think?
I think in the beginning it worked because she was doing more rallies and actually being out there speaking to people.
Yeah.
But now that that's kind of slowed a bit, and we're in this final stretch, right, a month away basically, now it is time, go out there, do national prime time live interviews, and I know that is scary, but you got to do the live stuff, right? She had actually 2 interviews air this week, but they're pre-recorded. And anytime you do the pre-record, you're going to get the right saying, oh, well, obviously you have to be in a controlled environment.
And then they're also going to pull out the best excerpts.
Yeah.
And they're going to put it on all over social media, and it'll sound like she's out in La La Land. That's what they're doing with even those interviews.
Right. Way back in the day, look, we had interviewed people pre-recorded, and we could take even the dumbest person and make them sound smart by getting rid of all the stupid stuff. You'd end up with only a 3-minute interview. But we had some real bad ones every now and then that we made look good.
I remember those days. Thanks for joining me, okay?
Thank you.
That's all we have for time, but all these segments are going to be posted right here on this channel in the coming week. Make sure you subscribe. I'm Mike Papantonio. This has been America's Lawyer. We tell you the stories every week. The corporate media won't tell you because their advertisers don't let them tell this story because they're going to lose advertising dollars. Or their politics is so Republican or so Democrat that they can't color outside those lines. So they have to tell the party line story. We don't have that problem here, as you've probably figured out. Hope to see you next time.
That it had helped dirty money flow through its branches around the world, including at least 800...
Plaintiffs allege that the defendants provided money and medical goods to terrorist groups Hezbollah and Jaish al-Mahdi.
This is a well-organized business for these individuals that carry out these attacks. Terrorism is a business, and they run it like a business.
They knew about what was going on for a decade. They absolutely, no question about it, knew that HSBC was washing money. They had every reason to understand it was for terrorism and it was for drug cartels. Took no action whatsoever.
These banks are involved. Their accounts are connected, and they're using them to mask the transactions. The more complicated they can make the transactions, the more distance they can put between the bad guys and a seemingly legitimate purpose of these funds.
They pay $1.9 billion, which is a drop in the bucket compared to what they've made, and nobody goes to prison. These CEOs, these bankers that made this decision, they're safe at home. They know what they've done. It's resulted in the death of Americans, contractors and soldiers, not just hundreds, but thousands. And we look the other way because they don't look like criminals. The die is cast. The people that are responsible are on Wall Street.
And they don't look like criminals. It's almost a suspension of disbelief. Sometimes I'll have people call me and say, is this real? Do they really get away with this? Yeah, they do.